now listening to Tough Tiger Talk Flash Report.
Yeah, I just told our team, we had opportunities. We didn't cash in on them. From an offensive standpoint, we had 3 opportunities to score that were field goals.
You want this?
What went wrong from your perspective?
Just details. I mean, we're just not on the same page, and it's frustrating. We just got to be better as a unit. It's not on any individuals. It's a unit as a whole.
I haven't seen it, but apparently you were pretty emotional after this loss, more than others, or?
Yeah, as I said, it's very frustrating. The details, that's what Coach Kelly, I'm sure, talked about, and that's just what's getting us beat.
So what did they do defensively in plus territory in the red zone
Yeah.
forced you guys to kick field goals?
No, I mean, they did a good job with their cover zero package, and, we had a plan, and, as I said, our details just weren't good enough. We weren't on the same page in different times, and it got us beat.
You guys received the opening kickoff. You went down, kicked the field goal, scored points in your first drive. Did you guys feel like there were some things in that opening drive that you could have sustained throughout the rest of the afternoon?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we did a good job moving the ball up and down the field. And for the amount of possessions that we had and the amount of points we put up, I think it was a productive day, but it wasn't enough to win the football game. And so, that's the frustrating part.
How do you handle the big picture questions now about, can they make a playoff and their goals, if their goals are going or not, and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, people have always been talking, bad about us anyway, so it doesn't really change. It doesn't really affect us. No matter what, people are going to say what they're going to say. And half the time, people have no idea what they're talking about. So try not to pay too much mind to that.
We got time for 2 more.
In the building, you feel good about that, though? The team?
I do. I mean, yeah, I do. We've been in this position before, and as I said, I think it was earlier this week that the college football landscape has changed. So, we know we're not out of it. We just got to be better. We got to be perfect in our details and perfect the rest of the year. So that's going to be the goal, and that's going to be the mindset.
Garrett, what is it about the red zone that's been such a struggle this year?
No, I think, as I said before, just the details. Just being on the same page as a unit. I think that's it.
You guys got to the I think it was like thanks, Garrett.
All right, Garrett Nussmeier, man, was sitting up here. He did cry with the towel in his face at the end of the broadcast at the game yesterday. First of all, we'll shout out to the Tough Tiger Talk Nation, man. We in this one early talking LSU, man. And Nussmeier taking a dig at the critics. Took a shot at the critics. And guys have been talking bad about us. Well, you're giving them something to talk about. I mean, when the Tigers face off against tough competition, they shrivel in the face of them. Ole Miss should have been a win. This Vanderbilt win, it should have been. It was not all exclusively on Nussmeier, but he's not an elite level quarterback. I think we can safely say that. I think we can safely say that about Nussmeier. That they're not an elite level. He's not an elite level quarterback. The whole Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels, and Nussmeier thing, he's on the tail end of that. That guy's none of that, man. He's a gunslinger with questionable decision-making ability. Takes a shot at the criticism of the people who are telling the truth. Talking about they're against. No. They see the weaknesses that this team represent. Like the defense has been saving their asses for, several games now? Now the defense caved in, but at some point the offense has to step up and handle some business, man. When you get all the way down to the goal line, you got to punch that thing in. You can't settle for field goals. You're doing that, you're going to lose. We knew at the back of the third quarter that going into the top of the the fourth quarter rather, when LSU had an opportunity to score in the red zone and they didn't, I said this game's over with. These people can't get it done on the offensive line. The offensive line is terrible. It's a bunch of people on that line. I don't know what they're doing. 4-man fronts on defenses get pressure on Nussmeier, and he has to throw on a shelf that's not foundational. He has to throw and shift and fall back and all this kind of stuff in making throws, and they're not consistently doing anything offensively. They're not as vertical as you want them to be. And like I said, it's just this guy's not it, man. It's a stinking offense, but Nussmeier has the time to stand up there and take shots at the critics. at a losing game. He stands. That speaks a lot about this kid's credibility and his mindset to stand there and talk about people, saying that they've been talking bad about us all season long. People they might have a small contingent, but the people that I know aren't talking negative about the LSU. They're telling the family members what LSU is doing as a team, and they stink when it comes down to offense. They can't generate any points consistently. They can't punch it in on short and longs, on third and long shorts. Hell, they can't do nothing radically right. Remember when they got the holding penalty? They got pushed back deep in their own red zone. What did LSU do? Instead of trying to get the yardage back, LSU then does a stupid bullshit draw handoff when they were second and long. When they got hit with the penalties or the sack, I think it was, they got them backed up because it was a couple of them. What did they do? Did they try to get the yardage that they lost back by throwing down the field and attacking to get the lost yardage back? No, they went to a give-up draw. So it's not just Nussmeier. He looks terrible enough, but it's the offensive line, it's Sloan, and ultimately it's Kelly. So he's under the gun big time with this loss. This was a bad loss for them, man. A horrible loss. And he's definitely on a hot seat. And like I said, the most feared thing he has to worry about as an LSU head coach is the boosters. The boosters don't play no BS, and they're going to ultimately get him on up out of here. You can see he's been shriveling like a raisin in the sun under the pressure of the spotlight, getting agitated with reporters, can't gather consistency, and we're already so deep in the season that we have literally 5 games remaining. We got a Texas team that's better than the Vanderbilt team that we play. And then they have 3 of the last 5 opponents that are nationally ranked. And Kelly is 5-10 since he's been here. 5-10 against nationally ranked teams. 5-10. That's not going to cut it. You can beat up on the cupcakes and all this kind of old stuff, but you can't lose a lot of games if you're trying to line yourself up to get a chance to play for a deep playoff run. You can't do this. So basically, what we have left for LSU in the little situation they have to win out. The 5 games, they have to win out all these games. They cannot lose any games. They can't lose at home next week against Texas. They can't lose after the bye to Alabama. They cannot lose to Arkansas, who they have difficulty with at times. And they cannot lose in the season finale against Oklahoma. So what we have here is very simple. A lot of people already considered them counted out. But anyway, let me go ahead on, man, and give you my talking points right here in terms of 4 reasons. Let's go. Let's do this. 4 critical errors that cost LSU the game against Vandy yesterday. Number 1, selling for field goals instead of touchdowns. That's the number 1 element right there. LSU had several drives deep into the Vanderbilt territory, but failed to convert them into touchdowns. The 51-yard run by Caden Durham to the Vanderbilt 2-yard line. LSU was pushed back by a penalty and ended up kicking a 23-yard field goal instead of scoring a touchdown. It matters because 3 of the 4 points lost or more are huge in a 1-score game. Converting one of the red zone opportunities in a touchdown might have changed the course of the game. It would have. In future close games, the resolution is that, they have to have more red zone discipline, which means avoiding penalties that push you back, being aggressive, and trusting the offense to punch it in that separate wins from losses. Right? That's number 1 critical error. I'm not going to hold you guys very long. Y'all hit that like button for me. Number 2, ineffective run game and failure to sustain drives. Although LSU did manage 100 yards on Durham, who had 59, and Harlem Berry had 54. They got 100 yards. They still struggled to consistently move the ball and the chains and convert third downs, especially compared to what Vanderbilt was doing. From the stats, Vandy had 45 rushes for 239 yards and controlled the time of possession over 36 minutes compared to what LSU did with 23, almost 24 minutes. And they held LSU's defense on the field goal far longer. When you can't sustain drives and you keep giving up the other team to more possessions, fatigue sets in and the momentum shifts and leaves you. Vanderbilt's time of possession dominance meant that LSU had less opportunity to score and more defensive burden. A stronger ground attack is the solution, and better third down efficiency would have helped relieve that pressure and keep the game closer. That's the bottom line. Number 3, on the critical errors that led to LSU losing the contest, is allowing Vanderbilt to control the clock and the pace of the game. This is somewhat tied to number 2, but the specific error LSU allowed Vanderbilt to dominate the time of possession over 36 minutes and execute very long drives. Vanderbilt led a 14-play, 75-yard drive that drained the clock for almost 9 minutes in the first half. Why that matters is because when your opponent controls that time of possession, it limits your offensive chances and increases the defensive rest for their squad, which helps them to sustain late success in the game from a defensive standpoint. LSU's inability to flip the field or force more stops allowed Vanderbilt to run out the clock. Now, the solution to fixing it is improve the defensive situational play, third down stops, red zone stops, whatever, and to force more punts and shift the momentum. Also, it would help, an extra caveat, it would help if LSU play callers defensively would be smarter in the calling of these schemes. You have this quarterback who's a little guy who has wheels, Pavia, and Pavia ran all over them. And where was the scout on this guy? They did that. Stupid defensive coordinator allowed this kid to run all over on them, and that was terrible. Where was the scout? You had to scout the guy. You had to keep a guy on him to make sure he stayed in the pocket. That was a thing in his mind, is that I have a defender on you that will stop you. This guy was able to pick up a touchdown with his legs. He was able to turn drives. Where was that at? That's an extra little one for the fam. And, of course, the fourth and final critical error was the penalties and the failure to finish drives under pressure. For example, right, on the crucial 51-yard run by Caden Durham to Vanderbilt's 1-yard line, LSU was penalized and forced to kick a field goal instead. LSU's offense couldn't convert a number of key opportunities in this game for touchdowns under pressure. You know, Kelly was mentioning this, saying they had opportunities but didn't cash in on them. The solution is, or why it matters rather, is penalties killed the momentum. It pushed them back at the wrong time. And where every possession mattered, failing to finish the drives means they wasted the field position and gave you opportunity or chances more to your opponent. So the solution is focus on discipline, especially in these critical moments of the game, inside the 5 or the 10, and situational awareness is needed here. You know, what to do when you're in the scoring position is time and is a factor. So it's just a number of things, but these are the 4, and I could have went 20 of these things, these errors, but I didn't want to bore you on this Sunday morning. I couldn't do my recap yesterday. I was busy, but this is what I have here, and I'm not going to keep you long on this broadcast. Listening to what Coach Kelly says, he's definitely under the gun, man. You know, and like I said, I played Nussmeier. I don't often play Nussmeier's post-game thoughts, but I found it kind of interesting for him to lose the game and was crying and talk about being frustrated. And then when the reporter asked him about what's going, what about this and that and the third, he had an opportunity to take shots at people, talking about they don't know what they're talking about. Oh, we don't know what we're talking about. You sitting up here, fam. You sitting up here, man. You're sitting up here as a 5-2 team, 9th in the SEC, losing to teams you shouldn't lose. You should never have lost to Vanderbilt. You don't go. don't go into Vanderbilt and lose that game. You go into Vanderbilt, you win that game, you get ready for Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a much tougher opponent than Vanderbilt, no disrespect. But even Alabama, to a degree, is what you're going to see. So the next 3 weeks, because they have a bye week in between, they'll face Texas A&M and Alabama, both ranked teams in the top 10 currently. And that's the point. They shrivel in the face of tough competition. The offense cannot be relied upon consistently. And instead of Coach Kelly fixing it, you got time to get pissy with the reporters and talk about we got to fix it, but yet it don't get fixed. What has to happen here is that things have to change. The offensive line is terrible. Nussmeier is shaky and creaky behind that. And he threw for 225 yards. But no, after having an idea of what Sloan's offense is, Sloan ain't just didn't get here. Sloan, the offensive coordinator, has been here for a while. And so have Nussmeier. So he should have a better handle on what's going on offensively. So like I said, it's not totally on him, but he is not playing a high degree or elite level football enough needed to come out with clutch plays at clutch times. We talking about a touchdown in each of these losses. A touchdown beats Ole Miss. We only lost 24-19. A touchdown, if you get a touchdown there, you beat that team. You get a touchdown on a 1 yard line where Caden's run gets down there. You convert that, you beat Vanderbilt. You might have beat them close, but you still win. So, and then what I'm saying is, man, it's just a cavalcade of comedy that comes along, and plus the defense allowed things to happen. And when the defense doesn't play well, they're not going to win the game because the offense doesn't have enough consistency to take over the game and maintain the game when it's close. You can't always. Sometimes the defense is going to have a slight dip. And in that case, the offense has to cover it. The defense can't sit there and cover the offense's ass all the time. Even when they get close, you got to punch it in. You can't have Caden run all the way down there and be on the one and you collect a penalty, back up and kick a 23-yard field goal. That's dumb. That's dumb, and that's ultimately will get you beat. And Coach Kelly is on the hot seat. He's definitely on the hot seat. A lot of people, I've already seen people send me messages on Tough Tiger talk about getting rid of him. His best friend that he likes to talk to, Coach Kelly likes to talk to every week on ESPN, Feinberg, says that they're done. Ball with friends like that, who needs enemies? He said they're done. And Feinberg is not telling a lie, man. He knows LSU just simply doesn't have it. They don't have it. They don't have it. They don't have the temperament to dominate offensively. They lost, confused, and they don't play with confidence. And it hurts me to say that because I'm a diehard LSU man, but at the end of the day, the truth must be said. So anyway, with that being said, man, listen, I'm going to get out on that. I appreciate y'all for sharing the show. 4 critical errors that cost LSU the game against Vanderbilt. With that being said, y'all fill in the comments section and let me know how y'all feel about can LSU rebound and get right as we see. Let me put this up here before we leave here. Look at this is the remaining schedule that LSU has to deal with. Saturday, October the 25th versus number 4 Texas A&M in Tiger Stadium. Saturday, November the 8th, they go to Alabama, who are currently number 6 in the nation. They come home 2 games, November the 15th and 22, against Arkansas and Western Kentucky, and finish the year September 29th against the number 14 ranked Oklahoma Sooners. 3 ranked opponents in 5 weeks. Can LSU do it? Can they do it? All right, so with that being said, I'm done. I'm going to holler at y'all on the next one. Y'all hit the like button and the sub button, man, and sub up to Tough Tiger Talk. I'll see you later. Much love. Peace. Go Tigers.
Subscribe to the Tough Tiger Talk channel and stay up to date for all things